All right, welcome. Today, we're holding a master class on one of the most talked about and honestly one of the most confusing TVs out there, the 2025 TCL QM8. So I want you to think of this as your ultimate revision guide. We're going to cut through all the hype and the conflicting reviews. By the end of this session, you'll have everything you need to ace the final exam on whether this TV is actually right for you.
So let's start with the big mystery, right? How can one TV get reviews saying it's the best thing ever while other people are just quietly sending it back? Well, this quote right here, it nails it. There's a secret, one single variable that decides if this TV is a masterpiece or a total mistake. And it's the one thing that most reviews just completely gloss over.
Okay, class, let's meet our subject for today, the TCL QM8. Look, on paper, this thing is an absolute beast. You've got mini LED tech, thousands of dimming zones, crazy brightness. It really does tick all the boxes. But, as we're about to find out, that spec sheet, it only tells you half the story. Our mission today is to uncover that other half, the one crucial factor that makes or breaks how it looks in the real world.
So here's our lesson plan for today. First, we'll tackle the great QM8 debate. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty with Picture Technology 101. After that, we'll cover its biggest environmental flaws, but also its surprising strength and motion in gaming. And then, the really important part, essential setup and calibration. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with the final exam, your verdict. Sound good? Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive right into our first section, the great QM8 debate. This is all about getting to the bottom of those wild polarized reviews. You know, why does one person see this incredible jaw-dropping picture while their neighbor just sees a washed-out mess? The answer is actually simpler and way more important than you probably think.
And here it is, the key to the whole puzzle. This TV's performance is completely tied to the room you put it in. And I'm not just talking about a bright room versus a dark room. It's way more specific than that. We're talking about your seating arrangement, where your lights are, where your windows are. All these things can totally change the picture. This is the secret TCL never really explains, and it's why so many people are left scratching their heads.
Okay, on to our first real lesson, Picture Tech 101. To really get why the room matters so much, we have to understand the technology that's actually powering this thing. This is going to be a quick crash course on the two key specs that give this TV its incredible power, but also hint at its hidden weaknesses. So pay close attention, because this stuff is foundational. First up, mini LED local dimming. So what is it? Well, imagine a regular TV's backlight is just one big flashlight. With mini LED, you have literally thousands of tiny individual flashlights. This lets the TV turn off the lights behind the black parts of an image while keeping them cranked up for the bright parts. The result? You get a bright spaceship that just pops against a deep, dark star field, creating some seriously stunning contrast and a real sense of depth.
Now, let's talk about the QM8 superpower, its brightness, which we measure in nits. This TV can blast over 2,000 nits. So what does that actually mean for you, sitting on your couch? It means when you see sunlight in a movie, it feels genuinely bright. Explosions have a real, punchy impact. It's not just about making the whole picture brighter. It's about making specific highlights intensely, realistically brilliant. And for watching TV during the day, this raw power is a huge, huge advantage.
But all that powerful mini LED tech has a little side effect, and it's called blooming. Here's the deal. When you're sitting straight on, that local dimming works like a charm. You get deep blacks right next to bright objects. It's awesome. But the moment you move off to the side, you might start to see this faint halo or glow, especially around something like subtitles. The common mistake here is thinking this TV has no blooming at all. It absolutely does, but whether you see it or not depends entirely on where you're sitting. So yeah, that incredible contrast, it comes with a condition.
Okay, so let's get into our next section, the TV's environmental flaws. This is where we connect all that tech stuff to the real world. We just saw how your viewing angle affects blooming, but believe me, the issue is much bigger than that. This TV's performance can change dramatically depending on your living room, and there are two potential deal breakers you absolutely need to know about.
And this right here is the single biggest issue, the number one reason people end up returning the QM8. The viewing angles are, well, they're narrow. If you're lucky enough to be sitting in the sweet spot, dead center, the picture is gorgeous. But the second you move over to the side of the couch, the image quality just falls off a cliff. The contrast plummets, those deep blacks turn into a hazy gray, and the colors can look all washed out. Now, this isn't a defect, it's a design trade-off TCL made to get that insane brightness. but for a family with a wide seating arrangement, it can be a massive disappointment.
The second major flaw is how it handles reflections. Now, a very common mistake is to think, oh, the TV is super bright, so it'll just power through any reflections. That's not really the case. The QM8 has a very glossy screen, and it really doesn't do well with direct light sources. The key takeaway here is that if you have a bright lamp overhead or window right across from the screen, you are going to see some pretty distracting reflections. The TV's brightness helps, for sure, but it is not a magic fix. Controlling the light in your room is critical.
Okay, after all that talk about flaws, it's time for some genuinely good news. Let's move on to our third lesson, motion and gaming. This is an area where the QM8 really punches above its weight. It offers features and a level of performance you'd normally have to pay a lot more for. And for a certain type of person, this is where the TV truly becomes a monster value.
For all you gamers out there, this TV is fantastic. Seriously, it supports 144 Hz refresh rate for PC gaming, plus you get variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode for super smooth responsive gameplay on your PS5 or Xbox. The input lag is incredibly low. We're talking under 10 milliseconds, which is elite stuff. But here's a critical tip and a very common mistake. Not all the HDMI ports are the same. You have to plug your console into the correct high bandwidth port to get all these features. If you use the wrong one, you're just missing out on what makes this TV so great for gaming.
And now for our fourth, and I'd say maybe the most important lesson of all, the setup. Right out of the box, the TCL QM8 looks, well, it looks wrong. It's usually way too bright, the colors are off, and it's over-sharpened to look flashy in a big box store. The key takeaway here is that to get that incredible picture you paid for, you can't just plug it in and go. You need to spend about 20 minutes in the settings menu.
And the good news is, unlocking its potential is totally free and pretty easy. Here are the 4 essential steps. First, always start with movie or filmmaker mode. They are the most accurate. Second, turn the sharpness setting way down. The default setting just adds these fake edges that actually ruin the detail. Third, turn off or at least lower the motion smoothing, which is what causes that weird, distracting soap opera effect. And finally, play around with the local dimming setting. Putting it on high isn't always the best. Sometimes medium gives you a more balanced, natural picture.
And just to really hammer this point home, let's talk about what you should absolutely not do. First, avoid vivid mode at all costs. Seriously, it's just designed to grab your eye on a showroom floor, not for watching movies at home. Second, don't crank the brightness all the way up for regular stuff like cable TV or older shows. It's just going to look blown out. That high brightness is for HDR. And finally, resist that urge to make it look like the demo model in the store. That look is completely unnatural and it'll just tire your eyes out.
All right, class. We've covered the tech, the flaws, the strengths, and the setup. It is time for the final exam. In this last section, we're going to take everything we've learned and apply it to answer the one question that really matters. Based on your specific needs and your specific room, is the TCL QM8 the right TV for you?
Now, it's really important to put the QM8 into context, right? It's not just about judging a TV in a vacuum. So compared to its biggest rival, the Hisense U8, the TCL generally gives you better contrast for movies, while the Hisense is maybe a bit better for watching sports in a bright room. And then you have OLEDs. The trade-offs are super clear. The QM8 can't touch an OLED's perfect inky blacks or its flawless viewing angles, but it gets way brighter for less money, which makes it a much better choice for rooms that aren't a pitch-black home theater.
So this is it. This brings us to the final decision. This slide really boils everything we've talked about down to a simple checklist. You should buy this TV if you sit mostly in the center, if you crave that intense HDR brightness for your movies and games, and if you're willing to spend 20 minutes tweaking the settings. But you should absolutely avoid it if you have a wide couch for family movie nights, if your room has reflection problems you just can't fix, or if nothing less than the perfect blacks of an OLED is going to make you happy.
And that brings us to our final summary. This is probably the single most important thing to take away from our entire lesson today. The TCL QM8 is not a universally great TV, and it's not a universally bad TV. It is a conditional masterpiece. In the right room with the right setup, it offers a level of performance that is an absolutely phenomenal value for the money. But in the wrong room, it's just going to be a frustrating disappointment.
Okay, pop quiz time. Let's do a quick revision to make sure these key lessons have stuck. First question. What is the #1 environmental factor, the biggest deal breaker that causes people to return this TV? I'll give you a second.
And question number 2, this is a crucial practical tip. When you first set up the TV and you want the most accurate picture, which picture mode should you always start with? That's right, either movie or filmmaker mode. Never ever vivid.
And now for your final and most important question. This is the one only you can answer. I want you to really think about your own home. Think about your living room, your couch, your windows, and who you watch TV with. Now ask yourself, based on all of that, is the QM8's biggest trade-off, those narrow viewing angles, a deal breaker for you? Your answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.